Okay, Rock Sliders, it's the 6th of July and I just got done testing the Swarovski SLC 15x56s against the new Maven 15x56s. This is their B5, so this is their next generation binocular. They were just released here, I think, last month. And I spent about 4 hours with these optics today, and I ran them through a big battery of tests that I'll take you through right now, and then I'll give you a summary at the end on how they scored. The 10 optic parameters that I took them through, first one was weight and bulk. The B5 at 45 ounces was 3 ounces heavier than the Swaro. Not a deal breaker by any means. The Swaro was slightly more of a compact binocular by about 1.5 inches in height. Depth of field, I tested them both at 1,000 yards and 1,018 yards and 95 yards, and I would set the focus at 1,018, and then I would look at the object at 95 yards and see which one was still in focus the most. And Swaro beat it by an edge, and by an edge I just mean a small amount. Okay. Field of view, I also tested that at 1,018 yards, and it was a tie. And if you look in the specs, they're virtually the same, and that was true in my testing. On the edge-to-edge clarity, I tested them with both eyes open at 50 yards on optics resolution chart, and the Swaro beat the Mavens by a margin. And by a margin, I mean, it was significant. You could really tell as you got out to the edge that the Swaros remained clear all the way to the edge, where the Mavens started to break up just a little bit. Eye relief, that's really important with 15 power binoculars because you'll be using them on a tripod if you're using them right, and you can't touch them. They can't be hitting your nose and the bridge of your nose and your eyebrows, or they're just constantly vibrating. And I was able to glass with both of them without touching the optic at all, so that's first and foremost. They both scored well there. I used my eyeglasses with them, and neither of them are really very good with eyeglasses, but I had to give the edge to Swaro, so if you're an eyeglass user, you're going to be happier with the Swaro. I did the Twilight Performance test last night. That's on a 1951 U.S. Air Force resolution chart, and I did it at 50 yards, and I started at 9:38. Official sunset was at 9:12, and I just put them side by side like they are right now, and I kept watching for the largest element in the largest group on the chart to become unrecognizable, where you couldn't distinguish between the horizontal and the vertical bars. And the Mavens actually beat the Swaros handily by 3 minutes and 14 seconds, and that's a lot. I've done a lot of Twilight testing with binoculars, and a lot of times, it's 30 seconds, a minute, minute and a half. It was a full 3 minutes and 14 seconds. So the Mavens beat the Swaros handily on that one. On Midday Performance, on the same optics resolution chart, the 1951 U.S. Air Force resolving power chart, I took a mounted deer that I have. He's 29 inches wide. He's got a couple of small cheaters, less than 2 inches long, and I took him up in the foothills, and I put him up on a fence. I got a friend up there that runs cattle, and then I backed off to 235 yards. I measured it, and this was at 4:30 p.m. 85 degrees, so there was some mirage. Put both the optics side by side, and they tied. There was no appreciable difference between the two. I could differentiate that, resolve that cheater, those cheaters on that buck, no problem. Moving to the optics chart, I did that just a few hours before in full light, and same results. They resolve the same group and the same element. So resolution is just neck and neck on these. One thing I did notice when I was glassing the buck, the mounted buck, was I'm colorblind, so I really hesitate to get into colors with people. I'm red-green colorblind, but it was just a richer color scheme through the Mavens. than the Swaros. The Swaros weren't bad at all, but you know, side by side, I was just seeing more color in the Mavens. I've seen that with other Mavens as well, just a lot of color coming through those. But again, I don't know what you're going to see if you're not colorblind. Chromatic aberration, I don't test that for the same reason as because I'm colorblind. I'm red-green colorblind. I don't know if what I'm seeing is the same thing someone else will see. But the way I understand chromatic aberration is if it's bad, you will be able to see a lot of fringing, and I don't see that in either optic. So I would say it's a tie between the two. Ergonomics aren't a big deal with 15 power binoculars because you're not holding them. At least you shouldn't be. But if I had to choose ergonomics, the Swaros are have a better feel to them. They have a place for your thumbs, and they're a little more compact. And you know, for hand holding, I guess they would be better. But it's really a non-issue on 15s. As far as the accessories that come with them, neither of mine. I've had the Swaros for about 3 years now. Neither of them came with a bino adapter, which is unfortunate. I don't know how they can sell 15 power binoculars without having a bino adapter. And same with my Mavens. And you know, I got a demo. Maybe they come with a bino adapter, but not a deal breaker. But you know, just something that I think would be nice if they included them. The price. Okay, this is the last thing that I test. I test it by simply looking it up. The Mavens are $1,500 on the Maven website, and the Swaros are $25.54 on the Swaro website. So there's a $1,000 difference there. So obviously the Mavens beat them on price. If I was to sum all that up, though, that was 10 different parameters that we tested them on. Swaro beat it in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the 10 categories. 3 of the categories were tied, and 2 of the categories, the Maven won. That was in the Twilight resolution and then the price. And so I would sum it up this way. If you got to have the very best, you got to have everything as good as it can get, go with the Swaros. You are giving up a little bit of Twilight resolution, okay? They don't stay bright as long. Now that's my term, Twilight resolution, and I'm just coming out at Twilight and using a resolution chart, but it gives you a good objective way to test 2 optics together. That's really what the $1,000 is getting you with the Swaros compared to these Mavens. The edge to edge is better in the Swaro. You are getting that, but I'm not so sure you're going to really notice that unless you put it on an optics chart. I didn't notice it before I put it on the chart. I thought the edge to edge was great in the Mavens, but the Swaro did beat them. The eye relief, if you're an eyeglass user, you're going to want to lean towards the Swaros, but I don't think either of them are great for eyeglass users myself. So once again, I think Swaro's kind of still leading the pack on this, but the differences are minor, and if $1,000 is a lot of money at your house, you are not going to go wrong with those Mavens. I hope that helps you guys. We'll have a thread on Rockslide. If you have any questions for me, I'll link the thread in the comments here on YouTube. I don't get to the YouTube comments very fast, but if you follow that link over to Rockslide, it's free to join. You'll be able to ask questions there, and you'll see there'll be a lot of other guys on there giving feedback. It won't just be me. That's the great thing about Rockslide. You kind of get everybody's opinion. So I hope that helps you guys, and we'll see you on the next optics review.